Now let's talk about how you're going to make stripes to go, instead of horizontally, that'll look like they're going vertically, up and down. This is going to involve using two different colors of yarn at once. You're going to have to switch your needle back and forth. I don't have enough for everyone to have two, unless you're really good with the yarn and can just do it by hand without the needle. The needle is there to help you, so you can decide whether or not it is a help or a hindrance that's slowing you down. You should still have some of your plain string left from your basic weave. Leaving that in, here's the end of it. I've taken the needle off the end, and I'm going to start this blue and do one normal row just like we did with the yellow when we started. So I'm going to thread my needle, getting it through there, leaving quite a bit so it doesn't come undone. I'm going to unwind this little bundle of yarn, and I'm going to start it on this side just like I did last time. I want it to be at the same end as the yellow so I can show you a few things. I would recommend doing the same thing. So I'm going to start at this side. I can look and see it went under the red string this past time and over the second string, so I need to do the opposite. Just like before, it's a little trickier. You got to really think it through when you're starting your next color. So I go over and under, over and under, over and under, over and under, all the way across, just like the first time. The only thing that is different is this is hanging out, just waiting. And I don't have to worry about it yet, but and under and over. Now, I want to hold this guy over here, just like we did last time. And go all the way through, leaving that like thumb's worth extra. And remember, I'm going to go opposite. So if it was over, now I go under this string and over the next one, under, and over the next one. And I'll probably just tuck it under so it's not hanging out for me. And I need to beat it. I know this is repetition. You've probably already done this. You're a master now. But let's make sure that we've got it figured out. So here's my plain blue row. Now I have a blue and yellow off the edge. What you're going to do is switch back to the yellow. So I undo this string and pick up the end, find the end of the yellow, thread it on my needle, and now I can show you your next step. Now that I've gotten to the end here, I want this yellow string over the blue, and I'm going to need to go the opposite of what the blue was. So if the blue was over my red string, I go under. And if the blue on this one was under, I go over. And it's going to be just like your regular weave once you get it started. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, and finally under. Like before, we pull it through. This time, just again, watch this blue string. You don't want it tangled. We just want that yellow to go through and pull it tight without being too tight. And beat it up close. This part will look a little different for a minute until we get it all wound. But can you see how at this point it almost looks like a dashed line where it goes blue, stops, blue, stop, blue, blue. And the yellow looks like yellow, stop, yellow, stop. It's going to break up and make those vertical lines. So now that I'm at this end, I take it off the needle again. And now I would put it back on the blue. My blue is much longer, so it'll take me another second. Okay. Thread it. Now, this is where it looks confusing. The yellow was under, so now my blue is doing the opposite of the yellow. Yellow is under, it goes over. The yellow is over this piece, so I go under. Once you get it started, you can go all the way across. If you're ever worried that you missed a stitch, you can always look back over here and talk yourself through it. So over, under, 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 and then it would be over on this end. So I've got it right. But if you're worried you missed a stitch, or what we say is dropped a stitch, you could always look back through it before you pull tight. Now, just like I did before, I'm going to get it nice and tight and beat it. Now I think you can really start to see how that yellow looks like a dashed line. And we switch back to the yellow. Now my ends are hanging off of this edge. The last time when they were here, I wanted that yellow to go over the blue, and this time I'm going to need the same thing to happen. The yellow needs to come over the blue. If you skip that, let's say you did, and you start going under, look what happens to the red. It's totally empty. So please do not forget that. If you do on one, we'll just keep practicing. So you thread the needle with your yellow, and you're going to go back again. I know this might be a little tedious to watch, but you're going to see how it starts to develop. After we get both strings back to this end, I'll go ahead and do some more until you can see the difference, and then you may begin your own. So my yellow goes over the blue. Now I need to do opposite. Blue is over, I go under. Over, under, over, under. I need to pull this tight. Did you see how it started to undo it? Got to keep your, for me it's blue, your other color, a little tight so that it doesn't come undone. And then you get to beat it. Use that fork if it's easier. I just use my fingers. Unthread your needle. And we go back to the blue because he's lonely on this side. He needs to travel back. The end. Through the needle. Remember the yellow went under, so I go over. The yellow went over this piece, I go under, over, under, all the way across. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and work a little bit more and show you as my stripes start to show. Alright, here are my vertical stripes. I went all the way until I was at the end of my yellow. I tucked it in just like we talked about and did another row of blue just to cover it up a little bit. I can see the edge of this. I would probably trim it a little bit more. And now you can see that they're making these stripes going vertically. And I run out of one of my colors, that's why we have 4 different ones to work with. And I can either do a plain weave, or maybe I would go back again, like a plain weave one time, and add in another color. I want to see that you can make these vertical stripes, even if it's only working this much, it's only a few rows, but make sure you're on task because I'm going to need about 4 rows of both colors, maybe more, to tell if it's turning into a vertical stripe.